So, uh, first of all, if you haven't been to our website, the Competitive League webpage on our website is very updated with pretty much all the information that you need to know, but we can kind of go over some of the major talking points today. Um, First of all, are the play dates. The league will start on January 7th, which is a Wednesday, and it'll run through Sunday, March 1st. So, for those of you that might be new, I see some familiar names, but some names that maybe our parents or who haven't played with us before. Um, our league is designed for feeder teams to participate on Sundays, strictly on Sundays. And then club teams could play on Wednesdays, Fridays, or Saturdays. Um, we kind of view it as a week to week thing. So I'll use the week of where Wednesday, January 7th starts. So if you're a club team, you're either going to play on Wednesday, Friday, or Saturday that first week. Feeder teams will all play on Sunday. So that's kind of how we determine weeks and that sort of thing. So there's no bye weeks. Everybody plays every week. There is one exception to that, and that is President's Day weekend. We will not be playing games that weekend again. We started doing that last year, and it seemed to work well. So, player fee. So teams that participate, it's not a team fee. It's more of a player fee. We kept the player fee the same this year. It is $230 per player. We do have scholarships. We're very proud to offer scholarships to anybody in need. So there's an application on our website. Should anybody need assistance to that. So if you're a coach or a program coordinator, please make sure you educate parents on that. We certainly don't want financial reasons to be a sticking point or a reason why they don't play. So um, deadlines, we do have a few important deadlines just to discuss. Team registration deadline is November 17th. And then we have the player registration about 9 to 10 days later. We do this because in case the team registers on that deadline of November 17th, we want to allow them time to let their kids register. The player registration, there is one caveat to that. Anybody who needs to register after November 26th, there is a late fee of $25 that kicks in. Um, Coaches, the last possible day to make any roster edits is January 13th. So that information comes into play. You know, sometimes people play in a tournament in December and a player gets hurt or they need to, a new kid moves into the area or whatever. We want to try to be as flexible as possible, but at some point we do have to, uh, you know, have an actual deadline where no more rosters edits can be made. Yeah, so I'll turn it over to April. She can kind of talk about the divisions offered, and we have a new division to touch base on.
Yeah, so for our feeder program, so for some of you guys that don't know, the feeder basically means the school that you're going to feed into for whatever high school articulation area you live in. So if it's Lakewood, if it's like you're living in the Lakewood High School area, it would be the Lakewood High School feeder team. If it's Thunder Ridge, it would be the Thunder Ridge feeder team. This year, we're having a new bronze division, and that's aimed for lower level kids that haven't played, don't have a lot of experience, they're newly formed, or if they were in our silver division last year, they only won one or two games. We were discussing about the bronze division. It's our lowest division in the feeder team. It's the new one aimed for beginners or anyone who maybe was at the bottom tier of the silver last year. If you have any questions, you can always ask us. Then we have the silver division, and that's aimed for kids that are more like newer, might have a little bit of experience, maybe 1 to 2 years, but aren't quite ready for the competitive gold division. The gold division is our top division in our feeder team. And those are kids that are teams that are established, have been playing for a couple years. And if they played silver last year, we're one of the top two in their division. We really want to enforce that because we want kids to be placed where they belong, and we want everyone to have the best success that they can have. And again, this new bronze division, we're pretty excited about. We're hoping to have one division per age, but we might have to combine just depending on numbers. But again, so it's bronze, silver, and gold for our feeder teams. And then on the other side, it's the club and open teams. And the club teams, It's an elite, we have an elite division that's invite only for some of the older kids, and then we have an open division. If you don't meet the 60% feeder rule, you could play on that. There are some roster rules. Again, for the feeder team, it's 60%. You have to, 60% of your team has to be feeding into that high school that you're going to go to. They are able to play on multiple teams within divisions. There's different puzzle pieces for that. You can't, I mean, but so we have it all on our website and stuff. But if you ever have any questions, please check with us, because we did have some issues with that last year. And again, a lot of it was honest mistakes on coaches and stuff, but we just want to make sure everyone is placed, because we do have to enforce those rules for the integrity of the program.
One thing I'll jump in there, we are going to revisit an old guideline that we've had in years past this season. Teams who finish in the final four of the postseason from last year, or teams that finish the regular season with 2 or less losses, if they were in the silver division last year and meet those requirements, we will be moving them up to gold. Again, we're just trying to create. Last year, we found there's some lopsided scores and some issues that came up that we're just trying to iron out the best we can. So just wanted to mention that. We do not have any daily admission fees, and that goes for any of our preseason tournaments, our regular season, or the postseason. We are making some adjustments to our girls club divisions this season. We essentially are going to offer kind of a shortened / mini season for those club teams. It's still a doubleheader format. Anyways, if you have questions on that, just let us know. But if that is something that you're interested in, we essentially are just trying to create more opportunities for the teams. The girls club scene is a little bit different than some of the other, especially on the boys side. They're looking for maybe other opportunities, travel, that sort of thing. So we're just trying to come up with a creative new option for them. It is a 12-game regular season. So again, back to the regular season, you play 2 games every weekend for 6 weeks. Again, there is a bye week, if you want to call it that, over President's Day weekend where you won't play, but it's a 6-week season. You'll play 2 games, and then you do have to qualify for the postseason. So more information will be readily available on that here soon in terms of how many teams per division. A lot of it depends on how many teams total there are per division. But we'll let everybody know that information soon. Tryouts. So this time of year, well, I'll let April actually chime in on that because she's kind of spearheading it.
So yeah, so we're getting the tryouts. We're at the coach's discretion. The coaches send us the emails about when their tryouts are. Anyone can send us that, even if your team is having tryouts and the coach hasn't got around to it, send it to us. We will post it on our website, and we do that for all our divisions. And it's just a good way for people. We get a lot of calls for kids that are new, either to Colorado or new to basketball. They don't know where to play or know how it works. Because if you've never done it, it's a lot. And so we will post that on our Gold Crown website. We try and get it updated every 24 hours. If we end up missing one, please just email us, because we do want to get all that information out. And we'll just list when your tryouts are. If you have a registration link, anything you guys put in there, we'll get it posted. And then we do field a lot of calls for people that need teams, want teams. So if, say, you have a team of 6 girls, you're looking for a girl or 2 for, let us know that, because we're always getting calls for people for certain age groups. And again, our whole goal is to let kids play, and we want to make this successful for everyone. So the more we can do for you guys, the better this will be for everybody.
So that's kind of a lot of information that we just spewed at you. So again, feel free to unmute yourself or type in any questions off to the side. One other thing I think it's probably worth mentioning, this year we have decided to make a new rule where players cannot play on opposite gender rosters. This was certainly something that we had a lot of internal opinions and a lot of discussion about it, but it caused a few little issues last year. So we're just going to try to nip that in the bud. The one exception to that is if we are not offering a specific division for that kid. Meaning, I'll use a girl for an example. If we do not have a sixth grade silver division offered, then that girl can go then join a sixth grade silver boys team if that's the case. So just wanted to mention that. Those were kind of the main little tweaks from last year that I can think of off the top of my head. April, do you have any?
No, hi, Jessica actually has a question for a third grader. Jessica, well, first of all, if the third grader is competitive, they can always play up. We do get quite a few kids that play up in a fourth grade team. However, we do run the Youth Development League, and I believe that is a little above rec basketball, but we're starting that. We're running a fall program, and then we run 2 divisions in the winter. That might be a good fit as well. But feel free to follow up with me or Jeff, and we can see if playing up is best for your player, because we do get quite a few kids that play up. In basketball, you're allowed to play up, but not down, if that makes sense. So a third grader can play on a fourth grade team, but a fourth grader can't play on a third grade team or any grade like that. But we'll definitely find a good fit, a good team for your player. And I think that's a great question.
One thing to add,
Thank you.
yeah, one thing to add to that, our divisions are grade based, not age. So it's strictly about what grade they're in. So just keep that in mind. Please tell us about individual coaching for players and how that might, okay. So Ryan, why don't you elaborate a little bit on that, if you don't mind, if you can unmute yourself. You know, we do have some individual training opportunities that we contract out with some individuals that run trainings for kids. I think that might be what you're alluding to. You know, if your kid joins a roster, you know, that coach will obviously be the one conducting tryouts on a weekly basis. So again, I see you unmuted yourself. Did that answer your question?
Sure. Well, our son participated last year, and I think this must have been one of the club teams. But I think we were hoping for a little more individual instruction from the coach, and just seeing if that is the case for these club teams, or if that is more a feeder team model.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, honestly, it's a case-to-case basis. You know, coaches, some are a little bit more hands-on than others. Some are truly a volunteer dad that sometimes may not be fully equipped with all the coaching techniques and knowledge. We do have some things on our website, a coach's corner for those types of coaches to reference. But if you're looking for more, again, we do have, and it's also, is it on our players corner or coaches corner? Do you know, Kira? Coaches, okay. Our coaches corner has some information on there for you know, I'm trying to find it. Yeah, we'll have some more information up there in terms of these individuals that I'm talking about that will do individual trainings. We're kind of working with 2 different people right now, and hoping to have that kind of ironed out here in the next couple weeks. But yeah, you know, it's like I said, it's kind of a case-to-case basis. Oftentimes we found that teams typically practice twice a week. That is done, you know, kind of independently from Gold Crown, meaning we don't come out and say, okay, this Thunder Ridge team is going to practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 to 7. The Thunder Ridge coordinator, the people who run that program, they're the ones who determine that. So, you know, and back to these tryouts, and I'll use Thunder Ridge as my examples still. You know, Thunder Ridge will host tryouts. They will find coaches. They will make teams, make rosters. They do all that independently from Gold Crown. And then what they do is then they determine or decide, oh, well, we're going to play in the Gold Crown Silver Division or whatever it might be. Oftentimes, maybe not oftentimes, but sometimes these teams do participate in a non-Gold Crown sanctioned event, meaning they'll register in another tournament that's in, you know, early December or whatever. So again, they're not technically Gold Crown, you know, the coaches aren't on our payroll or anything like that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but if it doesn't, please let me
And
know.
just to jump in, Ryan, I mean, again, we want you guys to have the best fit. If last year the teams you weren't playing for were a good fit, call us. Call us at Gold Crown. We know a lot of different clubs. We know a lot of different coaches. The feeder team's different because the feeder team obviously, I mean, and you're allowed to play on two teams, a club team and a feeder team, but the feeder team is the area you're going into. And again, we don't have any control over those coaches. But if you're looking for something more with as far as on a club side, we're happy to, point you in the right direction as far as your geographic area or what we know that certain teams do, because again, some do more than others, but we just want to make the best fit we can. So if you need anything else, feel free to email or call us as well.
I did find one of our training coaches. It's actually under the players corner on our website. Coach Callie, her information's on there, and we're like I said, we're going to be adding in a second person in there as well. So like I said, they're contract workers. They have extensive coaching background, and they coach teams themselves, and they're great. We've vetted them. They do a great job. So, all right, what's this next question?
So Jenna, it looks like one of your questions was, what are coaches? So first of all, welcome. And it's your son's first time trying out in a sport. That can be nerve-wracking. What are the most important things that the coaches look for? Again, different coaches look for different things, but I would think with basketball, my boys played through the college level. My husband coached for many years. I know Jeff coaches, and from what we see, I think they want, I mean, good energy, going out there, seeing if they can handle the ball, a kid that's gonna, be positive, be out there just working hard, doing what coaches ask, kind of just sitting around, just kind of doing that. But I think most of these coaches are great people. I mean, we've got to know all of them and they want what's best for these kids. But I would go out there, tell your son to have a great attitude, always be early. I'm a big believer. If you're on time, you're late. So show up a few minutes early to the tryout. Thank your coach at the end, and just go out there and have him work hard and have a great attitude. And I think that goes a long way. Jeff, do you have anything you want to add?
No, she kind of hit it on the head. She's right. I do coach my son on a Wheat Ridge team, and going into those tryouts, I don't always look at skill level or anything like that. I tend to look at how their attitude is, how they conduct themselves. You can tell pretty quickly if a kid's there for the right reasons, meaning do they want to get better? Are they anxious to learn and hear, any constructive criticism that we might have as coaches? And also, how the family acts as a whole. Parent behavior is also a real thing at the youth level, and just something to keep in mind as you go into any tryouts is, coaches pay attention. Does this parent seem to be easy to work with and that sort of thing, and is everybody there for the right reasons? Believe it or not, April and I've heard it all. There's some parents out there that don't do it for the right reasons, and unfortunately, that ultimately hurts the kids. So, just something to keep in mind. I see a few hand raises here. Okay, Caesar, feeder question around numbers, players missing because of other sports.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
go
my
ahead.
question is centered around last year was our first year having a feeder team. Very successful, some half the team played up in eighth grade, and the other half now is in freshman. However, because of that, more girls are interested in joining the feeder team. And then I think my question, and I saw that some kids in the gold, silver, bronze, they couldn't play within that move across or up and down, which makes sense. They can go into feeder and competitive, as you stated, or elite and club. My fear, though, is that a lot of these girls play ECNL or Girls Academy soccer, and they'll be out of town. And last year, I know it sucked when one team always forfeited, and I don't ever want to do that. And so I think I'm playing with numbers right now with about 14, maybe split in two teams, but depending on one team gets hit hard because they're out of town in, Utah or something for soccer, and then it puts me at four girls. Just looking to see what you would think around wiggle room around that.
Wiggle room around like the scheduling, like playing on specific days. Is that what you mean?
Nope, nope, no. I think the schedule's good. I wouldn't want to mess with that. I would say more around if I have two teams moving some of the other girls into the team that's kind of low on numbers, more around that.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question, and it does come up year to year. From an integrity standpoint, it's hard because we want to be flexible, right? We want to make sure that games are played and everybody has a successful weekend in terms of no forfeits and that sort of thing. Other coaches and from a competitive standpoint, sometimes they wouldn't agree with that. And so typically how we handle those situations is on case-to-case basis. And what we would do is we'd contact your opponents and say, hey, are you okay if Caesar does this with his roster? He's got some kids missing that week. So I mean, to answer your question, technically we don't allow it, but that's usually how we handle it. So if you were to approach us one weekend and say, hey, I'm short players, is there anything we can do? That would be our response is, hey, we'll contact your opponents and see if they're okay with making some slight adjustments. And more often than not, I would say probably 90% of the time, people are fine with it. Your opponents will be like, yeah, that's great. We just want to play games. But you may stumble across a coach or somebody who's like, no way, man. We want to win. We got to beat this team to make the playoffs, that sort of thing. So that's typically how we handle that. So
Yep, got it. Thank you. That helps.
yeah, thanks, Caesar. Sam, why don't you go ahead? Fall Development League to Winter Competitive League. So yeah, maybe elaborate a little bit on that for us.
Yeah, so just curious, I was looking at the website and wasn't sure if they all aligned correctly. I noticed there was a lot of tryouts for teams this month. My daughter's played for 3 years. She's going into 7th grade and just wanted to know if there was an opportunity. I kind of wanted her to build confidence or whatnot, but maybe do that to fall development league first and then get into the competitive league in January. But was just curious are these the only opportunities for tryouts? Is there still opportunity for her to get in the competitive league in January if she does the fall development league?
Yeah, great question, Sam. So this time are the only tryouts that will take place. So the tryouts that you see on our tryout page, those ones, I hate to keep picking on Thunder Ridge, but if Thunder Ridge is listed on there, they're not going to have another tryout. So this is kind of it. I know it sounds kind of crazy that people do tryouts in August for January basketball, but that's just kind of the nature of the beast. But what I would suggest doing, since your daughter does have 3 years of experience, I would certainly go to, find some tryouts to go to. It sounds like she would kind of meet that criteria. So that would be my suggestion. If she does make a team, great. And so one thing to keep in mind, like I mentioned earlier, some teams will have their tryouts now, plan to play in our league in January, but between now and then they might go play in a tournament up in Boulder or something.
Okay.
So what I would suggest doing is going to the tryouts, see if she makes a team. If she makes a team, kind of quiz the coach or whomever's running it, saying, hey, are there any fall opportunities? Because my daughter doesn't want to necessarily just wait till the wintertime rolls around. If they do, great. If not, yes, you can come back and revisit and sign up for that fall development league. That league is kind of designed for more of the beginner intermediate player. But we certainly don't, I mean, if a kid's playing on a club team, I'd probably try to tell them not to do it. But really anybody else, I think we would accept that. We'd be fine with that.
Okay, and then the only other option, if she does do the development league and then the winter development league, then she'd have to wait till next August to do the tryout. Does that sound about right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Rachel, look, a great question about, it looks like your son's done the development league for the last year. So I think Silver would be a good fit because he does have a year under his belt. You've signed him up for B&B tryouts. Would this be the best fit or could you do the feeder? So B&B is a club team, and so they'll be on the club side. They run a great organization. We only hear positive about them. when you do club, it is a little more expensive. And so I mean, you could go that route. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's a great route. The feeder, the advantage to the feeder is you could do both. You could do a feeder and, I mean, that's a lot, but because it's every other weekend, or they're different days, like the feeders play on Sundays, B&B could play Wednesday, Friday, or Saturday. And I'm all about like more options for kids because you don't necessarily know if they'll make the B&B team. I don't know if they take everybody or how many cuts they make, but I would say try out. Still look at the feeder just in case, because you just don't know what the best fit is for your son. You might go to B&B and he makes this great team and it's a great fit for him, but you go to the feeder tryouts and that's also a great fit. So I would keep your options open if that makes sense. But again, I don't think you can go wrong either way.
Is it different levels in terms of the club versus the feeder, I guess? Does that question make sense?
So, in my opinion, and again, my kids did both, and from what I see at Gold Crown Club, because club is a little more intensive, and
Okay.
they do probably do a few more practices and stuff. And clubs like B&B's going year round now. They because this is the first year they're doing the winter. They've never done the winter for it before. And of course you have to try out for every season. But so I would say that level's probably a little more competitive because they have their set practice stuff, whereas feeder teams, they're at the discretion when they can get practice and stuff. And usually, like Jeff said, they usually practice twice a week. But I would say with the club tends to be a little more competitive. Not always though, because we get some amazing feeder teams. So
I think to add, Rachel, to that real quick, we keep mentioning club and feeder, right? Club programs are a little more organized in the sense that they do things kind of year round. They'll have a spring tryout where the kids, will try out for a spring team or a summer team
Okay.
that time of year. Whereas the feeders, they're a little bit different. I think Federico's on here. He runs the Holy Family program, and he kind of hones in specifically on the winter. He has his tryouts. He finds coaches, or he does it himself. And so I would say that one of the biggest difference between the two is, on one hand, you get paid coaches, but it costs more, right? The clubs are going to cost a little bit more because they have more overhead and that sort of thing, because they pay their coaches or they have more practices throughout the week or whatever it might be. Whereas the feeder, sometimes it's a volunteer dad, sometimes it's somebody who says, I'm just so invested into our feeder program that I'm willing to. And so it sounds like you mentioned B&B. Ralston Valley will have tryouts, and Arvada West. Now those are feeder programs. So you can attend all three. You can do B&B, RV, and A West. Nothing says you can't do that. So just something to keep in mind.
Okay. And then the feeder, are the practices and everything at the games at Gold Crown, or do they travel?
Great question. Do you want to jump in?
So we a lot of games are at Gold Crown, but because our league is so big, we do rely on other schools. And like Jeff mentioned, Federico is a great guy. We're at the mercy of the schools that'll let us use it. So we're always
Sure.
Holy Family's one we use a lot. Wheat Ridge High School, Lakewood High School. Jeff goes through a
Arvada West.
list, Arvada West. I mean, we
Yeah.
go through the list and just start asking. So if you have any connections, please let us know because we can. But yeah, we're just at the mercy of the schools. And honestly, they're so great. And it's mainly Jefferson County, but we do use some Denver schools as well. They're awesome to Gold Crown. We're very lucky that people are willing to let us use these off sites, is what we call them, like off sites. So we always say check your schedule and stuff. And we send out reminders of when you play, but no, games are not guaranteed at Gold Crown.
And to answer your question about the practices, if you were to make, say, an Arvada West team, again, they kind of come up with their own practice schedules. They'll notify the parents and players of what that practice schedule is. Oftentimes practices might be at Oberon. They might be at the school. They typically find a middle school or an elementary school to have practices at. Each program is different, but so practices typically are in your area, whereas games, if you play in the feeder on Sundays, they tend to be a little bit more broad. We do still try to regionalize things as much as we can, but inevitably there will be some drive time. It's all in the metro area though.
Yeah, okay, okay. And then if nothing's on the website, like we're closest to Lakewood, but I see nothing's on the website for Lakewood, I think the next closest would be Wheat Ridge, so maybe we'll just try that.
Um, uh, Ed Corridori is, he's doing great things with that program. He probably just hasn't sent us. Again, it's the coaches that send him. I will follow up with him,
Okay.
reminding me about that. But
Yeah.
he's really working hard to rebuild that feeder program there. And he did have some teams last year, but let me and I didn't get in. Rachel, you can send me an email. I could send you Ed's information as well. But I do know he's planning on participating, and they're really trying to build up the Lakewood community for basketball.
Cool.
But
Okay.
again,
Awesome.
the closest one, if Lakewood didn't have one, Wheat Ridge probably would, or Green Mountain's closer, I mean, but yeah, absolutely.
And one thing to mention, this kind of goes to everybody that's listening. It is still a little early in the tryout process. Yeah, you obviously see some tryouts on here, but I would say you're probably only seeing maybe 50% of them. There'll be more. There's
Good
even
to know.
programs that post their tryouts in October because they have no intentions of doing anything in the fall or anything like that. So they'll conduct theirs later in the fall. So just because you don't see them on there doesn't mean that it won't happen.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
you,
Thanks for the
Rachel.
questions.
Yeah.
Hi, Stephen. It sounds like your 12-year-old son played a couple seasons with Green Mountain feeder team in bronze. I'm sorry that it wasn't a good situation for him, but love that he still loves basketball. Honestly, I would think like we said, any kid, if it's not a good fit, our youth development league might be really good for confidence. We are running a fall league this season. I mean, there'd be a lot of I'm a big believer, any touches on the ball, any kind of contact really helps. That would be a good fit. And this is the first year Gold Crown is doing a bronze division. So it might be a little different. I think he probably was playing in the bronze division under J Sports. But I mean, I would look at a different team, but I would honestly put our YDL because I think that would be going to get a lot of touches on the ball. It's really going to help with his confidence and his skill level. And we have some great coaches that do that as well.
Let me jump in real quick. So this YDL or Youth Development League that keeps getting brought up, it's a separate league. It takes place on Thursdays and Fridays, and that one's a little bit different because we actually do hire the coaches for that.
Yeah.
So we are a little bit more hands-on in terms of, okay, let's say Johnny and Billy want to be on a roster but they don't have a coach. Well, guess what? We'll find a coach for them and we'll kind of put them on a roster together. It's a minimal commitment. It's just one night a week. We do offer this year we are offering a fall season, which is primarily in October. And then we take a few weeks off for the month of November, and then we start back up with 2 back-to-back seasons over the winter. So it's been a very, very popular program with us over the past several years. It does tend to sell out. But like I said, we are a little bit more hands-on in terms of finding coaches and that sort of thing. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. We were looking at the winter season for that.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Again, there are 2 seasons to that. So you can
Okay.
one, or you can always sign up for the first one and he's loving it and wants to do the second one. Just something to keep in mind is that they do tend to sell out. So just something to keep in mind.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions that we may have glossed over?
I just had a quick question. If your child is coming to a tryout and they're not on a team, but they have some friends that are also coming to the tryout, it's not the type of thing where if they all make it, they can be like request to be on the same team. They're placed on teams. Is that correct?
Yeah. So are you talking about like a feeder tryout? Is that what you're referencing?
Yeah.
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 So again, Gold Crown we don't have any control over necessarily how they conduct their tryouts. We've certainly kind of made some guidelines on what they need to do, but it's that kind of thing is ultimately up to whomever runs that program. So, I think I understood your question, right? Are you kind of wondering if they can all be on the same team? Is that kind of what you're alluding to?
Yeah, we never have a coach, but we have 3 of us that have been playing on these different teams, and we'd love for them to stay together if they make it. I mean, they may not even make it, but And I didn't know if it was something you can request or if it's just like, oh, they're on silver, they're on bronze, and just
It's not necessarily something that you can request. I mean, let me rephrase that. It's something you can request. I don't know if they'll, if you don't mind me asking, which program are you referencing?
it's Mountain Vista. And I actually was listening because the other gal asked. I have a third grader who's also really loves basketball and has been playing, and we're thinking about trying out because we've had such a hard time finding a competitive
Yeah.
league in the rec division. So I'm hesitant, but I guess I was encouraged by what you said, April, that just try out because they may make it. Is that your guidance?
I mean, honestly, like, and there, I mean, and I know because doing registration last year, I would say, I can't tell you exact numbers, but we have a handful of boys and girls that play up, from third grade. I mean, I would even honestly say we had a sprinkle of second graders, of course, that's at the parents' discretion stuff, but I would talk to the Mountain Vista coordinator. I mean, I know they have a huge program. They have one of the biggest programs in our feeder team, but they're great guys. And again, they're all volunteers and they're doing this. They want you guys to have success. So I would talk, I believe it's Sean Campbell that runs those. I would, and he is amazing. I would talk to Sean and just say, hey, we've got these 3 kids. Is it an option? And it may not be, you know what I mean? You might have this kid that it just depends their skill level and stuff. But also the other thing is if you guys, I mean, I always talk, always ask because, the worst they can say is no, but I would definitely take your son. I mean, I think they have a great program. They're very organized and, get them playing, if you can. And if not, have them come play with us for our YDL league too.
Yeah, we are signed up for that. So, and we did your camp this summer and I just love your program. So I'm a huge fan, but thank you.
Oh, and like I said, I would always ask. I mean, I think the worst they can say obviously is no, they might have to evaluate, but you never know because it might be some kids are right, even matched, and they want good fits for teams too, And so I would absolutely ask them.
Hey, Cassie, real quick, on our tryout page where you see the Mountain Vista tryout information, there's a link on there where it says register, click here kind of thing. And if you click on that link, it'll redirect you to the Mountain Vista, feeder page, their official feeder page. And if you scroll down, you'll see Sean Campbell's information.
Perfect.
There, his email address. And like April said, Sean's great. But they are a very large program, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, they're one of the largest for reasons, and that's because they do such a great job. So I'd reach out to Sean for sure.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions that might come up? Feel free to unmute yourself if you have anything.
Do you have kids that do development league, the youth development league and competitive, or typically do they just do one or the other?
Usually do one or the other. And the reason why that is, like I just said, the youth development league is a minimal commitment. It's just one night a week. However, when you join a feeder team or a club team, inevitably their practice schedules may conflict with that league. So rarely, I don't know if we ever have seen a kid that, I mean, there may have been, we're just unaware of it, but I wouldn't say that's very common. Now, you could do the fall league, that's a little right. But in terms of the winter youth development league and the competitive league, I don't know if you'd be able to swing it. That might be too much.
Yeah, it's one or the other. Okay. Sounds good.
And I don't know if we've done it yet, but we'll get our April and I's email addresses posted over here on the chat side. And this is the time of year, believe it or not. I know it's crazy because it's, school's just starting up and everything, and we're already talking about what's going to happen in January. But this is a common time for parents to be looking for teams for their player. Obviously, we have a lot of communication going on with the different programs because they're conducting their tryouts. And so, it's sometimes it always baffles me when I get an email in July about what's going to happen in January. But it's nice to know that people are planning, and especially from a program and a coordination standpoint, knowing that these programs are already thinking that far ahead, it's nice. So.
And you guys, if a question comes up, I mean, always ask us. That's what we're here for. We have well, you'll get our emails, but we have a great department. Call us. There's about 5 of us in our sports department, and we want to help. We want to get you guys placed on a great team. Like, Rachel mentioned, Lakewood tryouts went there. I'm going to get on that right away because he usually does send them. And like Jeff said, it is a little early, but once we get on, sometimes they forget, or they might not just have the gym time yet. With school starting, sometimes they have to wait until schedules are released and then get with their administrators. But we're here to help you guys, and we want to help get your kids placed on a team. And we might be a little biased. I think Gold Crown's a great place, but we want you guys all playing wherever you play and whatever you do. But we just want you to be successful, and if we can have any part in that, that makes us really happy. So
one last thing that just popped in my head, and I'm sorry to be bouncing around here a little bit, but there is somewhat of a process that takes place in terms of registering your child and or teams. The first step is for obviously the coaches and coordinators to formulate the teams, but then the coach should then register the team, which there is no fee at that time. So the coach will register the team, and then they will have access to their roster. Their roster will be blank at that time. But every kid that they put on their roster, the system will automatically send that person an email invitation. The parent clicks on that link in the email, and then it'll take them directly to a registration. Once the parent is done with that registration, then the system automatically puts that kid on that coach's roster. So it is kind of a step-by-step, if you're a parent who's like, oh, I want to play, I'm just going to register my kid. Well, the system actually won't allow you to do that because, again, you have to get an invitation from the coach. So the registration that you see on our website is technically for coaches to register. I think on there, it talks a little bit about, if you're a player registration must get invitation from coach prior to registering. So just something to keep in mind as you go into these tryouts. You technically don't need to register for Gold Crown until you're formally placed on a roster and get the invitation from the coach.
Stephen, you had one more question. The difference between our new bronze winner division and JPS bronze level. So a couple main differences. Our bronze level has roster rules. JPS doesn't have roster rules. So club or high schools, any team can play in there. To play in our bronze division, you do have to meet the 60% roster rule. That's one of the main things, because that whole idea of that bronze level is the feeder teams, playing with kids that you'll go. And that division will be played on Sundays. And I know they don't play on Sundays. As far as the rest of the competition level, I know JPS runs a great program. We're not totally familiar with what hers is. I just know the regulations we have are a little bit different. So I apologize. I don't know unless Jeff knows.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the competition level, I'd probably say it's probably going to be fairly comparable. It's not going to be a big noticeable difference, I wouldn't think. This is the first year we're trying it, so to April's point, a year from now I could probably tell you a little bit more, but us having those gold, silver, and bronze divisions within our feeder, the idea behind it is to separate and fine tune the competitive balance a little bit more. So there might be teams that inevitably there's always a team that wins every game and a team that loses every game in every division across all sports. But as each year goes by, we try to manipulate and place them in the right spot. So each year gets a little bit better and better. But like I said, every year there's always going to be a team that wins every game. And, that's just kind of the nature of the sport. So anyways, I don't know if that answers your question, but if you have any follow-up, let us know.
Well, that answered my question. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Stephen. Who's this?
Carl, AAU. So AAU is a term, and it's funny, like my husband, who, we're older now, and I think that's just a term that was used more frequently back in the day, but I think it's basically the same thing. Like, I know that's amateur. It's like, I forget exactly what it stands for, American Amateur.
Something. I can't remember.
Youth sport, but I think it's very similar. And again, I think people just use it as a term, but again, I think that would maybe refer more to the club side of things. the club and the club teams. Whereas again, Gold Crown, we pride ourselves on having it all because we want people to have the club, have all the opportunities at club, and then the feeder teams as well. But I think it's basically the same thing as far as the club teams go. The teams that might be, like Jeff said, they might be practicing year round, playing a little more intensity than what our winter division is aimed to do.
Yeah, so just to educate you a little bit, AAU it's a national organization. They have branches, I guess, if you want to call that, in specific states throughout America. They haven't been prevalent in Colorado in quite some time. I can't even remember when, maybe mid 2000s, something like that. So AAU, oftentimes people say, hey, is there an AAU team? Which I think is virtually the same as a club team. There just isn't a governing body that oversees the AAU here in Colorado. So I don't know if that answers your question, but. These are all great questions, everybody. Really appreciate everybody chiming in today. We did record this. We will post this. So if you need to reference something after the fact, please do. Again, April and I, we also have Mark Rush and Jordan Crow on our staff, and Michael Felix. The five of us, we're available. So if any questions come up, or if you want us to elaborate a little bit more on a topic that we maybe glossed over a little bit today, feel free to reach out to us. To April's point, Gold Crown's been around for 40 years, and this league specifically, I think, is on our 31st year or something like that. So, this is a very, the years have helped us gather all the information and feedback that we've taken serious, and we fine-tuned it. And, it's a very popular league. We have teams that participate from Fort Collins all the way down to Pueblo and anywhere in between. So it's hard to believe that people drive that far, but we're super flattered and love it. And, anxious. We're excited for this upcoming season. We've made these few little tweaks that I think will be a big hit and popular. And that's the other thing, is we're always open to feedback. So if you have any feedback, or if you're, concerned about something, please call us. We pride ourselves on being friendly. So if you have any questions or feedback, let us know. So.
Yeah, thank you guys for taking the time. And again, we have other videos. We have step-by-step, a lot of information on our website, but email us. Email is probably best, but always call us. We'll get right back to you, and we'll help find you guys a team. We're hoping to have a great season.
Yeah, one last thing to add, please follow us on social media too. We try not to bombard people with too many posts, but this time of year is pretty important information that we also share on social media. So please find us on there. And so if you have any follow-up questions, let us know. Appreciate the time. Hopefully we didn't chew up too much of your lunch hour. And thanks again for attending.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day.